Mr. Tunick, you brought here a fantastic, very impressive Chagall.
Please call me David.
Monsieur David.
Really?
David, you brought a fantastic Chagall. Could you speak about it?
Yeah, it's a 1917 painting. And of course, you know, 1917 is the year of the Revolution, and so particularly important because of that date. And what happened was that Chagall had gone to Paris in 1910, and then in 1914 he took Bella, who was his fiancée, back to Russia to meet his parents and to be with his family, and he got stuck there by the war, by the First World War, and he couldn't leave until after the war. He was already pretty well known in Paris and was a hero in the art world, in the world of culture in Russia. They knew who he was. They wanted him to become a Soviet minister of the arts. Bella thought that was too dangerous, too fraught with difficulty, and so they went back to Vitebsk, where he started an art school, and he did become a commissar down there in the province of arts. Vitebsk is the village that he grew up in, the ghetto, the Jewish ghetto, and the painting shows Picasso self-portrait at his easel.
Picasso?
Did I say Picasso? Chagall. Chagall. But of course, he and Picasso knew one another in Paris. But he shows himself, and he looks really elegant. He looks very much the way he does in photographs of the period. The long, sharp nose, the high cheekbones, the curly hair. He was a very elegant and good-looking young man.
And the landscape.
And the landscape
is
in the background, yes. That's the on the canvas that is on the easel. He has painted his hometown of Vitebsk with the ghetto fence going around it. In fact, the only beautiful building is the Church of the Archangel in the background, which is outside of the ghetto fence. And he is holding a palette, and his finger is pointing down. If you look very carefully in the lower right, there's a very small little figure. You have to get up close to see it. And it looks like it is a very religious Jew, maybe a Hasidic Jew, a little hard to tell. And as was pointed out, this picture has been published several times. It has been shown at the Tate. It's been shown at the museum in Geneva. It's been shown at the Israel Museum in Jerusalem. And nobody ever noticed before what a biblical scholar did when he walked into my place in New York about 4 months ago. And he looked at this little figure who is standing at the fence, and the man, I'm afraid to say, even on video, this man down there, Chagall has painted him urinating on the ghetto fence, as if to say, this is what I think of the ghetto. However, what this biblical scholar saw that nobody had ever seen was that a red scarf around that little figure's neck, and then hanging down is the Hebrew abbreviation. I had no idea.
Yes.
Nobody had ever noticed it. It's the word for God, also for life, also for pleasure. And so that was quite startling. Also, other kinds of imagery in the painting. There's red and white smoke rising up. Year of the Revolution, the red and white smoke. This is actually published. It was not my discovery. The red and white smoke stands for the reds and the whites of the Revolution.
And but this kind of painting is super rare. I mean, from this date.
Oh, from this period, yes. The early pictures don't turn up very much.
And so where does it come from?
It comes from a private collector who bought it around the year 2000. It was in the Chagall family. It was in Russia. Chagall had given it to his niece, I believe it was. No, I'm sorry, his sister. His sister, also same last name, Chagall. And it stayed in the family. It was hidden because they knew it would be confiscated by the Soviets. And around 1990, when the Soviet Union fell, and there was very little in the way of laws and restrictions, they got it out of Russia and it went to a group in Israel. And this is where it stayed with this ownership group. It had once been in an auction. It's kind of interesting. Around 1995, it was in a Sotheby's auction, and it wasn't sold. There was a rumor that was published, never attributed, quotes never attributed, saying that maybe it's a copy. And that turned out to be entirely untrue. We, of course, would never have fooled with the picture, handled the picture if it were a copy. I got in touch with the director of the Israel Museum at the time, Harvard-educated James Snyder, and he said, do you think that we, or the Tate, or in Geneva, they would show a picture that was a copy? Never. He said, we checked everything. We even checked how it got out of Russia. There were no laws at the time. There were no restrictions, no export when the wall went down. And so this rumor was started, I was told by the museum director, by an oligarch who wanted the picture very badly. And so he planted this rumor in the press. It had a little bit of circulation.
Wow.
A little bit of circulation. And so I've been after this picture for about 10 or 15 years. And that was one of the first things that I wanted to chase down and figure out, investigate. And we did that. And the picture is absolutely clean and correct. And I've been in touch with the Chagall Committee.
And would you expect to sell it?
I'm sorry?
Who do you expect?
To whom? You know, if a museum acquires it, if a museum buys it, it's what in America we would call a game changer. I mean, it's such an important picture. The self-portrait from 1917, the year of the revolution. It's a big picture. It's a colorful picture. It has a little bit of cubism in it. It's a great, I don't use the word masterpiece lightly. I mean, it is a masterpiece picture. Can a museum afford it? Not unless they get donors, unless it's something like deep pockets such as the Getty or a couple of other museums in the world.
And now Russians are more discreet in terms
of buying. Well, now we can't sell to any Russians, of course. So that's off the table. But I think that it would more likely go to a private individual. For some people, that's the price is not a great deal of money. I mean, it's a lot of money.
Like what?
It's $25 million. We base that, the most expensive Chagall ever to sell at auction, public auction on the record, was $28,500,000. That was a later picture. It wasn't nearly so important a picture, and so we wanted to price it fairly. I think that actually it's probably worth more. One could make a very substantial case for it being worth something like $35 million, which was our first thought. But I decided, let's get it sold, make it a very attractive price, and therefore $25 million.
Merci, monsieur.